All right. Seeing some people start to come in, so that's great. Give them a minute. Okay. Thinking we might be at our limit, which is small, but kind of to be expected since it's a redo. So that's okay. So welcome everybody, or welcome back if you were here the first time. Just for all of the new people, I will do my introduction again. So my name is Kian Brunn, and I am an AmeriCorps member with Conservation Nebraska's Common Ground program. Conservation Nebraska's mission is to protect our state's natural legacy by educating the public, supporting communities, and increasing civic engagement. And we do this through locally led education efforts such as webinars, workshops, and film screenings, and community engagement like park cleanups, letter writing, and outreach events to address local conservation concerns. So tonight, we are talking about Monolith, a local model of sustainable manufacturing practices. And I would like to welcome back Anna Wishart, who has offered her time to do this again. If you were here the first time, you remember we didn't have the best audio. That's all fixed, so it's going to be a great presentation. So thank you all for joining us tonight. If you have any questions, please put those in the Q&A section in the Zoom, and I think that you said you like to answer them as they pop up, right?
Yep, I'm happy to do that.
Okay, awesome. And then at the very end, there is a very brief 2 to 3 minute survey that I will send out at the end of the presentation. If you could just fill that out, that'd be awesome. And with that, I will turn it over to you.
Well, great. Well, first of all, thank you so much for inviting me back and for offering this opportunity to share out what we do at Monolith. As you said, the first time around, it went really great, but unfortunately, we had some issues with the audio and wanted to make sure that since this was recorded, that those who aren't able to join are able to watch later on and get some good audio and actually able to hear what I was saying. So appreciate being invited back and hope everybody who's tuning in. I'm imagining most of you are from Nebraska and here, and hope you're staying safe. It's brutally cold out there right now and very slippery, and so be safe as you travel home from work and you're out and about this weekend. So I am going to go ahead and share my screen, and then I'll introduce myself and our company, and excited to take you through this slide deck this evening. Okay, are you able to see the screen? Share?
Yes, I can. Thank you.
Okay, great. Well, a little bit about myself. My name's Anna Wishart, as you can see, and I'm the Director of External Affairs for Monolith and have been working for Monolith for a little over 2 years. I've actually, a bit about my background, born and raised in Nebraska, and live a little over a mile away from where I grew up. And I've spent the majority of my life working in public service as an elected official. I ran our Lincoln Airport, serving on that airport authority board for 6 years, and then ran for the legislature. And I'm in my final year as a state senator here in Nebraska. And it's been an incredible experience, just an incredible experience. And one of the reasons why I ran for office was I care deeply, deeply about the environment. When I'm not at work, I am outside as much as possible, except for days like today or weekends like this weekend where it's gonna be like -40 wind chill. So I knew after my time in service, I wanted to go and work for an initiative, for a company that had the opportunity not only to have a beneficial impact here in Nebraska, but to really impact the world and impact the environment. and felt very lucky that Monolith decided to grow its first commercial scale facility, clean hydrogen and materials facility here in Nebraska. And so I'm very excited to share with you about our company and our sustainable practices tonight. So at Monolith, really what is at the core of our belief, why a lot of us show up to work every day, is that we know that we can improve the health of our planet when we reduce the emissions associated with the everyday products that people rely on. They rely on for their mobility, they rely on for their food, for their everyday supplies. And we believe it's essential in order for us to solve one of the world's most pressing issues in terms of climate change, that we utilize types of technology innovations that help us meet those decarbonization goals. And when I talk about decarbonization goals, before I started working for Monolith, when I thought about sort of decarbonization, I mainly thought about the transportation and the electricity sector. And so I thought about renewable energy, like wind and solar and geothermal. And I thought about transportation in terms of electric vehicles. But when you look at this chart here, what it shows you is that if we were to fully decarbonize both of those sectors, electricity and transportation, we would only be a little over halfway to meeting a net zero future. And many of you who are listening in, because I'm assuming you're pretty conservation minded and thinking about the environment, thinking about these pressing challenges, so you're probably very aware of the Paris Climate Agreement. But for those of you who are not, this was really a sort of landmark international treaty that was adopted by 196 parties at the UN Climate Change Conference in Paris in 2015. And then the agreement, the treaty, binding treaty that they agreed to was sort of entered into force in 2016. And what this overall goal of this treaty was to hold and basically try to ensure that the world is, the average temperature of the globe is going to be below 2 degrees Celsius, and to try and limit the temperature increase to 1.5 degrees Celsius. And so the goal is then, and the agreement was that we, as a world, as these 196 entities agreed to, is trying to reduce by 45% our emissions by 2030, and then reach a net zero future by 2050. And so a lot of times at Monolith, when we're talking about the future and we're talking about decarbonization, we have that goal in mind of 2050. How do we as a company help contribute to the world meeting that goal? And so this is where hydrogen comes into play, and clean hydrogen in particular. It's going to play a vital role in helping us meet that 2050 decarbonization goal. And the reason being that if you look at sort of these buckets, renewable energy is, as I showed before in that pie graph, or clean energy, as I like to refer to it, sort of low emission or zero emission energy sources, is going to help us get a long way there. And so will battery innovation when it comes to energy storage, electric vehicles, and additional innovations that are happening with batteries. But those two buckets alone are not going to help us decarbonize some of the toughest industries to decarbonize, such as heavy-duty transportation, marine and air transportation, steel industries, chemical industries, agriculture, and then sort of long-term electricity storage. And that's really where hydrogen comes into play. A lot of these industries, you take the steel industry, for example, currently utilizes a more emission-intensive form of hydrogen to produce steel. And then a lot of these industries, even if they don't use hydrogen now, could use clean hydrogen, for example, clean hydrogen that's turned into ammonia as a fuel source, for example, in marine shipping, and drastically decarbonize their fuel source and the emissions associated with shipping. And so then that's where Monolith comes into play. So there are a number of ways to produce clean hydrogen. I'm sure some of you have heard of electrolysis. It's where you split a water molecule, so you have H2O, so hydrogen and oxygen. So you split that into hydrogen and then oxygen, and that is a significantly low emission, zero emission way of producing clean hydrogen. And then there is methane pyrolysis or pyrolysis, which is the technology that Monolith utilizes. And I don't know if many of you know, but Monolith is the first company in the world. So here in Nebraska, we have the first company in the world that is utilizing the pyrolysis technology at a commercial scale in Hallam, Nebraska, at our facility, which is about 30 miles south of Lincoln. So if you're driving down the highway 77 headed south towards Beatrice and you look to your right, don't look too long, pay attention to the road. But if you look to your right, you will be able to see our facility way out in the distance. And what you're seeing here at the center of this slide, that is the Olive Creek 1 facility. So what is methane pyrolysis? It's where you take clean electricity and you heat it to a very high temperature. You take clean electricity and heat natural gas. You can either take sort of fossil natural gas, pipeline gas, or you can take renewable natural gas like methane that comes from landfill emissions. And you take that methane, heat it to a very high temperature in what is called a proprietary reactor, and that's right here. So you heat that methane molecule, which is CH4, to a very high temperature in our reactor, which is an oxygen-free environment. So instead of burning it, you're heating it, and you're splitting that molecule into, since it's CH4, hydrogen, and then a solid carbon. And what's exciting about our process is that not only are we producing hydrogen, but we are also taking that carbon that remains and turning it into an equally valuable product called carbon black. And carbon black is in many different applications, and I'll go through a little more of that in the next slide, but it's most notably known for making up a third of every vehicle tire. It's the reinforcing agent that makes that makes the tire black, but also makes it durable and lasts the length of tire that we expect it to last. Because we don't burn the natural gas or the methane, our process has significantly lower emissions than the traditional ways of producing both hydrogen and producing carbon black. So it's basically like we're decarbonizing two industries in one, the hydrogen industry and the carbon black industry, because we have significantly lower emissions than the traditional ways of making both of those products. Additionally, and this question came up the last time that I was giving the presentation, I've spoken about our emissions reductions, but it's also important to note, since we're talking about sort of sustainable business practices, that Monolith's process also uses significantly less water than the traditional ways of making hydrogen and carbon black, and sort of some of the other types of technologies that make these products. Because we don't use water as our feedstock, a vast majority of the water we utilize then is turned into water vapor through evaporation. So I love these slides because they go into a little more detail and can show everybody what Monolith products can be used in how they impact your everyday life. So the products that Monolith produces impact everyone at all economic levels in every part of the world. And as I stated, we produce carbon black and hydrogen, but we can also turn our hydrogen into ammonia as well. So when I go through these next 3 slides, you'll see up here the key that shows you where our hydrogen can go to support decarbonization, where carbon black can go, and then where. So one of the things that excited me when I came and worked for Monolith was recognizing that there is a significant amount of effort going into decarbonizing sort of the full value chain of the automotive sector. So it's not just stopping at the fuel. Auto manufacturers, tire companies, and other companies want to find, they all have most of them have their sustainable practices and part of that and their goals. And part of that is looking at how do you decarbonize the entire vehicle itself and the production process that went to making that vehicle. And this is where Made with Monolith products can come in to support this effort. So for example, Monolith hydrogen can be used in the steel of a vehicle and in the fuel cell to power that vehicle. Monolith carbon black, as I talked about, can be used in the tires, but it can also be used in the plastics that surround that vehicle as well. And so what you're seeing then is in that vehicle, then not only is the fuel decarbonized, but also the very parts of that vehicle that you can go and purchase in the future has the opportunity to show you that there were less emissions associated with producing that product than there were in the past. And that type of transition and change is happening rapidly because a lot of countries and companies are looking at that 2050 decarbonization marker and figuring out how we help the world get there. So it's not just in the automotive sector. It doesn't just stop there. For example, I talked about hydrogen being used to be able to decarbonize marine shipping, but we anticipate that it has an opportunity to help with long-haul trucking products, commercial travel in terms of air travel, and then I talked about steel manufacturing. So these are opportunities for clean hydrogen to support the decarbonization of these industries. And then when it comes to sort of in your home and your everyday products in life, there are opportunities for Made with Monolith products in the future to our ammonia to help decarbonize cleaning supplies. Our carbon black can go into toys, other wearables. There's even FDA grade level carbon black in the mascara that I'm wearing right now. And then our ammonia could also go to support fertilizer that supports then the food production that gets the food to your plate. So there's just a variety of ways that a Monolith product can go and support reducing the emissions associated with a lot of the products in our lives. So how did we get to where we are today with the first commercial scale facility here in Holland, Nebraska? This slide shows you the ramp up of our technology, starting from a sort of small lab scale reactor, growing that lab, and in partnership, we have a partnership with a university in southern France called Means Paris Tech, where we do some of our R&D work there as well. And this is a view of the reactor there, where they support some of our research and development work, to starting a pilot facility in California and piloting our technology at a larger scale, and then looking around the country and deciding that Nebraska was where we wanted to build our first commercial scale facility with Solid Creek 1, which is there now and operating, producing both hydrogen and carbon black. And then next up, we have an expansion in our future. We intend to multiply our reactor by 12. That will be the typical size of a Monolith facility, and it will be at the same location in Holland, Nebraska. And once that's complete, we will be one of the largest clean hydrogen and sustainable carbon black facilities in the country. And so it'd be very exciting, and that's in the future on our horizon, is that expansion project. We call that our Olive Creek 2 expansion. So we can talk about the technology ramp up as a way to see the scale up of this innovation, this clean tech innovation, but it's also, we like to measure our milestones by our products as well. And 2023 was a really big year for Monolith. We're proud to announce in May that Goodyear began using our carbon black, Goodyear began using our carbon black in their ultra high performance, all season electric drive passenger tire. At the beginning of this company, way before I started working at Monolith, a lot of those who were working on the ground level were told that by many people who had been in the tire industry that it would be impossible for us to get into the tire, that it would never happen. As you can imagine, it's very challenging to get into a tire. There is significant industry standards and regulatory standards for getting your products into a tire. And there are very few carbon black facilities in the world that supply tire companies. And now we're one of the first sustainable carbon black facilities to supply a tire. And we anticipate by the end of 2024 that our sustainable carbon black will be in tens of millions of tires on the road. And so this marks that milestone of getting a sustainable product, sort of a first of its kind, into a tire that people can purchase and buy. I love this slide because this shows you the bags and bags of carbon black that we're producing today that go into a lot of these products. In fact, we've been producing such a large quantity of sustainable carbon black that we entered into a new agreement to lease additional square footage warehousing facility in South Lincoln because we're quickly filling it up with products. And we think that this is also a big step in our company's ability to provide clean carbon black to our customers here in the US and in Canada. And also what I love about this is that, you know, we have our facility at Hallam and our site there, but as we grow, there's a ripple effect of the opportunity for economic development in other areas surrounding that facility, such as being able to lease a warehouse site. We have one of our rubber lab research and development facilities in the Westo area. And so it kind of goes to show the economic development and the ripple effect that happens when you have a clean technology company in your backyard. I spoke to you a little bit about our Olive Creek 2 expansion. And as I said earlier, we had a big year in 2023. And that success in terms of getting into a tire and some of the technology advancements that we did at our Olive Creek 1 facility really unlock a clear line of sight for our expansion facility in Hallam, Nebraska. And so we were really positioned well for that expansion to move forward in the future. So we're very excited about that. This is actual rendering of what the expansion facility would look like with the 12 reactors. You can see in the distance here, this is the Olive Creek 1 facility that exists today. And then our story is not just about the environment, it's also about sort of the energy transition, the clean energy transition, and the high wage, great benefit, lasting clean technology jobs that can exist for people. And Monolith really is the example of the clean energy transition done right. We offer a landing pad for those who maybe have worked in more emission-intensive industries to come and utilize their expertise and skills here in Nebraska working at our facility. And when I say lasting jobs, I mean generational. We're the type of facility where a person could work in our facility, and then if they have a family and when their kids grow up, their kid could work in our facility as well. It's that type of generational high-wage job that's really important to have with the clean energy transition so we don't leave people behind as we're transitioning to clean tech and innovations. So we continue to grow in Nebraska. We now have more than 126 employees working at our Hallam facility, just up from over 100 in 2022. So our progress in terms of job growth is great. And then in total, we provide about 165 high-paying Nebraska jobs. We do have some satellite locations across the country as well with some research and development labs. And so we also employ additional people at those. And then as you can see here, our investment in the state continues to grow. So far between our Olive Creek 1 and 2 facility, we have invested more than about $332 million into our facilities. And for our Olive Creek 1 facility, that's about an economic impact of $46 million. And then if you look at our Olive Creek 2 expansion, we're going to be able to provide even more jobs and even more economic development. And then that ripple effect will continue to increase because we continue to utilize local repair facilities, our staff use the restaurants in Hallam and the surrounding communities, and they live in those surrounding communities, and you have that ripple effect for economic development. So I will stop there and stop sharing my screen and see if you have any questions. And I prefaced it the last time as well. I'm happy to answer as many questions as I can. If you have ones that are better answered by our engineers, please just put your email address in the chat, and I will make sure to follow up and get the right expert to get that information to you.
Thank you so much. I think there is one question in there. And before you answer that really quick, I just want everyone to know that I'm going to launch the survey. So if you could take 1 to 2 minutes to fill that out, I would appreciate it. So can you see that question in there?
Oh my gosh, I saw that my audio was not great.
Okay. There was only like 1 second that you cut out for me. I'm unsure how it was for everybody else, but from my end, you only cut out for like 1 second.
Okay, well, I am so sorry, Joe, if there was any problem there, and if you want to just email me and want to get a coffee, if you did have trouble hearing, I'm happy to do that. So I see the question, do we have any low-level waste heat in the winter that we could use to heat a greenhouse? Is the methyl, so first, I don't have an answer for you on that, but I can get back to you. So if you feel comfortable, you can put your email address in here. If not, I can email Conservation Nebraska the answer and she can get it to you if that's all right. And then, is the methane feedstock fossil originated? Currently, we use fossil natural gas in our process, but we can use renewable natural gas. We can actually use any hydrocarbon. And so we have piloted the ability to use renewable natural gas, which is methane from biomass, like landfill gas. And so we do intend in the future to pursue some of those other opportunities for alternative feedstocks. And then we don't, I don't know what the term activated carbon means, but our carbon black does have conductive abilities. And so there is an opportunity for us to use, beyond just tires, for us to use our carbon black and its conductive abilities in battery components for electric vehicles, for example. And that is something that we're exploring, but that's a future application. Right now, we're focused on tires. Okay, glad to hear it's better than last time. I moved locations, but it sounds like my laptop maybe needs a little fix up. So we are continuously hiring people, and what I can do is I will pull up for you our job link so that you can, if you know anybody who's interested, please have them apply, because we are always hiring, and it is a wonderful place to work.
Did you want to share your screen again?
Nope, I will.
Is that what you were? Okay.
Okay, well, it looks like it's the end of questions. I will give you my email address here as well. Feel free to email me if you have any other questions. We're any chance to get a plant tour. So we are going to be creating a virtual tour that I will make sure to get to Conservation Nebraska to share out. And so we're going to be filming and getting that done this year. And so I'll make sure to get that to you right away. And then right now, we're not doing a ton of tours in the winter time, but it's something that if we do decide to do an open house, because we have done those in the past, I will make sure to reach out to Conservation Nebraska and we can talk about an opportunity there.
Awesome, thank you. And then I do see that there's one question in the Q&A, but that is one that I can answer. So there was someone asking, can they get a copy of the slides? We do have this session recorded and it will go up onto Conservation Nebraska's YouTube channel. So that might take a couple of weeks to get it up there just because we have to do the processing with Zoom and things like that, but it will be on our YouTube channel for like indefinitely. So it'll be there soon. And then I see someone else said they tried to answer the survey, but the box kept resetting. That's weird. Let me see. Well, since it's anonymous, I can't see what's happening on your end. So I'm really not sure what's going on there, but thank you for attempting to fill it out, I guess. Yeah, I appreciate you trying. So, okay, does anybody else have any other questions before we close out? I don't think I'm seeing any more.
Well, thank you all so much for tuning in. Thank you for everything you do for AmeriCorps and for conservation here in Nebraska. We're really lucky to have you here. And please do email me if you have any additional questions about Monolith. And it's been great. I just love having this opportunity to share out. So thank you.
Yeah, thanks for sharing your time again with it. It was interesting the second time too. So thanks so much. And thank you everybody for being here. Have a good rest of your night. Stay warm.
Stay warm, everybody. Stay safe. Bye.
Bye.